General Vex stood on the bridge of his massive warship and looked down at the small blue planet below him. His ship was so big that it could hold an entire city inside it. Around him floated 3,000 other alien ships, each one filled with weapons that could destroy mountains. The fleet looked like a dark cloud covering the stars Vex had for eyes, instead of two like humans, and his skin was purple and scaly. He wore a black uniform covered with medals from all the worlds he had conquered. His people called themselves the Galactic Dominion, and they ruled over hundreds of planets across the galaxy. Earth would be just another easy victory. Alien General walked to the big window at the front of his ship and smiled, with his sharp teeth showing he had been conquering planets for over 50 years and had never lost a single battle. The humans down on Earth were still using primitive rockets to barely reach their own moon, while his people had been traveling between stars. For thousands of years, Captain Zor, his second-in-command, walked up beside him. "Sir, our scanners show that the humans have some basic technology. They have satellites around their planet and some small space stations, but nothing that could threaten." Vex laughed loudly, filling the bridge with the sound. His laugh was deep and scary, like thunder in a storm. "These humans only learned to fly in space less than 100 years ago," he said, while pointing at Earth with one of his long, clawed fingers. "They still fight wars with chemical explosives and metal bullets. Our weapons use pure energy that can melt their entire cities in seconds." The other alien officers on the bridge also started laughing. They had seen this same pattern on dozens of worlds before a primitive species would spot their fleet and either surrender immediately or try to fight with weapons that could not even scratch their ship hulls. Either way, the result was always the same: total defeat and slavery for the conquered species. Lieutenant Kix, who controlled the ship weapons, looked at his screen. "Sir, I can see their military bases and weapon storage areas. Should we destroy them first to show our power? Not yet," said Vex as he walked back to his command chair. "Let them see the size of our fleet first. Sometimes these primitive creatures surrender without us having to fire a single shot. It saves time and keeps more of them alive to work in our mines." The alien fleet had been traveling toward Earth for 3 months after their scout ships reported finding a world full of intelligent life. The humans had tried to hide from alien visitors, but the Dominion had technology that could detect any form of life from light years away. Earth had over 7 billion humans living on it, which meant 7 billion new slaves for the Dominion Empire. Commander Year, who handled communications, turned toward General Vex. "Sir, should I send the standard surrender message to all their communications?" "Do it now," Vex ordered, while settling into his massive metal chair that was decorated with bones from creatures he had killed in battle. "Give them exactly 1 hour to respond. If they refuse to surrender, we will show them what happens to species that resist the Dominion." The message went out across every radio, television, and internet signal on Earth. It was translated into every human language and appeared on every screen around the planet. The message was simple and terrifying: "People of Earth, your planet is now surrounded by the fleet of the Galactic Dominion. You have 1 hour to surrender completely and accept slavery, or we will destroy your cities one by one until you submit. Resistance is futile. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. Surrender now, and some of you will be allowed to live on Earth." Billions of people saw the message at the same time. Panic spread across the planet as humans realized they were facing an invasion from space. News reporters tried to broadcast the story, but their signals kept getting interrupted by the alien message repeating over and over again. But something strange happened after the alien message finished broadcasting. Instead of the expected chaos and panicked responses, all human communications suddenly went completely silent. Every radio station stopped broadcasting, every television channel went dark, and even the internet seemed to shut down completely. General Vex waited for the usual response from a conquered planet: either immediate surrender messages or desperate military communications, as the primitive species tried to organize a hopeless defense. But his communication officers reported something they had never experienced before. "Sir, there are no signals coming from the planet at all," Lieutenant Moore said while checking his equipment again and again. All their communication systems seemed to have gone offline, impossible. Vex snapped, standing up from his chair. "These creatures were just broadcasting to each other minutes ago. What are they doing down there deep beneath the surface of Earth in a massive underground facility that had been hidden for 50 years? Korean engineer Park Jin ran through metal corridors filled with blinking lights and humming machinery. The facility was built 3 kilometers underground and stretched for dozens of kilometers in every direction. It was one of 12 similar bases hidden around the planet. Jin reached a massive control room where hundreds of humans worked at computer stations. Commander Lee. So Min stood at the center of the room, watching dozens of screens that showed the alien fleet above. She was a small woman, but her voice carried authority that made everyone listen when she spoke. All stations report status. She called out Pacific Base, ready for activation. Came a voice from the speaker's Atlantic Base systems online and charged Arctic Base standing by for orders. Indian Ocean Base, all weapon systems ready. Jan slid into his chair. At the main engineering console, his job was to control the most important system of all, the planetary defense grid that had been built using technology reverse engineered from crashed alien ships that governments had been hiding from the public. For decades, Commander, the orbital defense satellites are all online and ready. Jin reported all power systems are at maximum capacities. Min nodded and looked at the main screen that showed the 3,000 alien ships floating above Earth, like vultures waiting to feed. She had trained for this moment her entire adult life, knowing that someday aliens would come to conquer Earth. 50 years ago, she said, speaking to the entire control room, the first alien scout ship crashed in the desert. Countries around the world worked together in secret to study the technology we found. Since then, 17 more alien ships have crashed or been shot down by our hidden defense systems. She walked to the center of the room, where a 3-dimensional image of Earth floated in the air, surrounded by thousands of tiny dots, representing the alien fleet. Every piece of alien technology we captured was studied, taken apart, and rebuilt. We learned how their weapons work, how their shields function, and, most importantly, how to make their own technology work against them. The room fell silent as everyone focused on their commander. Words. For 50 years we have been preparing for this exact moment. We knew they would come eventually. We knew they would underestimate us, and we knew we would have only one chance to save our world. Jin looked at his control panel, where green lights showed that every human defense system was ready and waiting. The aliens thought they were attacking a primitive planet, but they were actually facing the most prepared defense force in galactic history. Commander. So Min pressed a button and spoke into her microphone. All units, this is Earth Defense Command. Operation Guardian Shield is now active. Show these invaders what happens when they threaten humanity above them in space. General Vex was growing impatient with the human silence. He had never encountered a species that simply stopped communicating when faced with invasion. Usually, they either begged for mercy or sent angry messages promising to fight to the death. Fire a warning shot. He ordered. Target one of their major cities, but aim for an empty area near it. Let them see what our weapons can do. The main cannon of his flagship began to charge. With energy that glowed bright blue, the weapon could destroy everything within 10 kilometers and would show the humans exactly how outmatched they were. But as the massive energy beam fired toward Earth, something happened that no alien in the Dominion fleet had ever seen before. The energy beam simply vanished the moment it touched Earth. Atmosphere, sir, reported the weapons officer, his voice shaking with confusion. Our plasma beam just disappeared. Vex stared at the empty space where his weapon blast should have hit the planet. Impossible, he whispered. Fire again. General Vex felt his 4 hearts beating faster as he stared at the empty space where his weapon should have destroyed a human city. His massive plasma cannon had fired enough energy to melt mountains, but the beam had simply vanished when it touched Earth atmosphere like it never existed at O Fire. Again, he shouted to his weapons officer, his voice echoing through the bridge. Use maximum power. This time Lieutenant Kix pressed the firing controls again, and the main cannon charged up with even more energy. The blue glow was so bright it lit up the entire bridge like a small sun. The energy beam fired toward Earth, but again, it disappeared completely the moment it reached the planet, sir. This is impossible, Kix said while checking his weapon. Systems over and over again. Our energy readings show the weapon is working perfectly, but something is making our attacks planets in his military career, and had never seen anything like this. Even the most advanced species they had fought could only deflect or absorb small amounts of energy, but the humans seemed to be making his weapons disappear entirely. All ships, prepare for full bombardment, he ordered, turning back to his crew. If one weapon cannot reach them, then we will use hundreds. Fire at every major city on the planet at the same time across. The alien fleet, 300 ships, turned their main weapons toward Earth. Each ship carried plasma cannons that could destroy entire mountains and energy weapons that burned hotter than stars. The combined firepower was enough to crack the planet in half. Commander Year, who handled fleet communications, looked nervous. Sir, are you sure we want to destroy the entire planet? We need some humans alive to work in our mines. We'll leave some cities standing. Vex replied, but these creatures need to learn what happens when they resist the Dominion fire all weapons. Now 300 energy beams fired at once, creating a light show that could be seen from other star systems. But as all the energy beams reached Earth atmosphere, they simply disappeared. Exactly like the first two shots, the alien bridge fell completely silent as every officer stared at their weapon displays. All systems showed that the attacks had fired correctly, but the planet below showed no damage at all. It was like they had been shooting at empty space deep beneath Seoul in the hidden Earth Defense Facility Park. Jin watched his control screens with growing excitement. The orbital defense grid was working exactly as designed. Every alien energy attack was being captured and stored in the massive power collectors hidden around Earth. Commander, the energy absorption rate is at 40% of maximum capacity. Jin reported to Lee So-min, we can handle much more than this. So-min smiled as she watched the tactical display that showed every alien ship in space around Earth. The defense grid was not just stopping the alien attacks, it was stealing their energy and storing it for later. Use Phase 2, she announced to the entire facility, redirect stored energy back to the alien fleet. Show them what their own weapons can really do around Earth. Decades they began glowing with the same blue light as the alien plasma cannons, but the energy was compressed and focused into beams 10 times more powerful than the original attacks. The first redirected energy beam hit an alien destroyer on the left side of their fleet. The ship simply ceased to exist. One moment it was a massive warship full of alien soldiers, and the next moment it was expanding gas and metal fragments floating in space. What just happened? Captain Zor screamed as he watched the destruction on their sensors. Before anyone could answer, 5 more alien ships exploded as the human satellites continued firing. The energy weapons were using the aliens' own power against them, but made much stronger and more focused. Each beam could destroy ships that were designed to survive direct hits from asteroids. Evasive maneuvers, Vex ordered as panic filled his voice. All ships scatter formation. But the human defense system was faster than the alien ships could move the satellites. We're targeting multiple vessels at the same time with perfect accuracy that never missed. Within 2 minutes, 40 alien ships had been completely destroyed and 60 more were badly damaged. The massive alien dreadnoughts tried to move away from Earth, but they were too big and slow. The human energy weapons followed them like hunting predators, picking off ships one by one. Hit with devastating force, Jin monitored the battle from his engineering station, watching as the planetary defense system performed better than anyone had hoped. The alien technology they had reverse-engineered over 50 years was now being used to destroy the very species that created it. Sir Jin called to Commander So-min, the enemy fleet is breaking formation. Many ships are trying to retreat. Let them run, So-min replied, but keep targeting any ship that continues to fire at us. We are defending our home, not conquering theirs. In space, General Vex watched his mighty fleet get torn apart by weapons that should not exist. The humans were not just defending themselves, they were using technology that seemed impossible. Every energy beam his ships fired was captured and sent back with 10 times more power. How are they doing this? He demanded from his science officer. Moore replied while studying his instruments, they are taking our plasma beams and somehow making them stronger before firing them back at Ustat. Isn't possible, Vex shouted. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only moved from one place to another. These humans are breaking the basic laws of physics. What General Vex did not understand was that humanity had taken a completely different approach to technology development. Most alien species, including the Dominion, followed predictable paths when creating new weapons and defenses, but humans had learned to adapt and improve everything they found. Darun 30 years studying every piece of alien technology that crashed on Earth, taking apart their weapons and rebuilding them to work better. We developed ours for protection and survival, where their shields deflect energy. Ours absorb and redirect it, where their weapons destroy ours, defend above. Then the battle continued as more alien ships fell to their own redirected weapons. The human defense satellites moved in perfect coordination sharing. Creators of some alien ships tried to ram the satellites, thinking they could destroy the small human weapons with their massive hulls, but the satellites were protected by the same energy absorption fields that protected Earth itself. When the alien ships hit them, their kinetic energy was also absorbed and redirected back as devastating force beams. So men activated the next phase of the defense plan around Earth. Massive ring structures that had been hidden in space for decades suddenly came online. These rings had been disguised as space, debris, and asteroid fragments, but they were actually humanity's greatest technological achievement, artificial gravity wells, Jin announced as he activated the ring systems. Enemy fleet movement is now restricted. General Vex felt his flagship suddenly pulled toward Earth, even though his engines were running. At full power, something was grabbing his entire fleet and holding them in place like invisible hands. "Sir, we are caught in some kind of gravitational field," Captain Zor reported. "All ships are being pulled toward the planet, but our engines cannot break free. The human gravity rings created a prison of twisted space and time that held the alien fleet exactly where the defense systems wanted them. The rings did not pull the ships toward Earth to crash them, but instead held them in a perfect position for the energy weapons to target them. Vex realized that his 3,000-ship fleet was now completely trapped. The humans had not only stopped his attack, but had turned his own weapons against him and captured his entire force. The species he thought was primitive had just demonstrated technology that was far beyond anything the Dominion possessed. Send a message to High Command. He ordered his communications officer, "Tell them, we need immediate reinforcements. The humans have technology we have never seen before, sir." "What should I tell them about our losses, Captain?" Ye asked. Nervous Vex looked at his tactical display that showed over 200 ships destroyed and his entire fleet trapped by human technology. "Tell them that we have encountered the most advanced defensive system in the galaxy," he said quietly. "And tell them that we may have just attacked the wrong planet." General Vex paced back and forth across his command bridge, while his trapped fleet floated helplessly in the human gravity wells. His purple skin had turned darker with stress, and his 4 eyes kept darting between the tactical displays that showed his continuing losses. Over 300 of his ships were now destroyed, and the rest could not move or escape. Captain Moore, his science officer, worked frantically at his station, trying to understand what the humans were doing to them. "Sir, I have been analyzing their technology for the past hour, and nothing makes sense, according to our scientific knowledge." "Explain it to me," Vex demanded, while slamming his clawed fist on the metal railing. "The humans are not just using energy absorption," Moore said while pointing at his scanner readings. "They are somehow improving the energy before sending it back to us. Our plasma beams that carry one." Vex shouted, "Energy cannot be created. It can only be moved from one place to another. Every species in the galaxy knows this basic law of physics." What General Vex did not understand was that humanity had taken a completely different path in developing their technology. Most alien species, including the Dominion, followed the same predictable steps when advancing their science. They developed weapons first, then defenses, then better weapons to overcome those defenses. This created an endless cycle of attack and counterattack, but humans had focused on something entirely different: adaptation and integration. When pieces of alien technology crashed on Earth over the past 50 years, human scientists had not simply copied what they found. Instead, they had studied every component, understood how it worked, and then rebuilt it to work better. Deep in her underground laboratory, Dr. Yoon-Hae Jin examined the latest battle data on her computer screens. She had gray hair and wore thick glasses, but her mind was sharper than any alien scientist in the galaxy around her. Dozens of Korean researchers worked at stations filled with alien technology that had been completely redesigned. "The key difference," Park Dong-soo, her assistant, said while looking at energy conversion readings, "is that we approached their technology as a puzzle to be solved, not a weapon to be copied." Dar-yoon nodded and walked to a wall covered with diagrams showing alien energy systems. "When we found our first crashed alien ship 50 years ago, we could have just built copies of their weapons and shields. Instead, we asked ourselves why their technology worked the way it did and how we could make it work better." She pointed to a diagram showing the original alien energy cannon designed. "Their weapons are designed for maximum destruction with no thought given to efficiency or improvement. But when we rebuilt their technology, we focused on maximum efficiency, with the ability to constantly upgrade and enhance the systems. Human approach to technology development was unique in the galaxy. Where other species developed their science in isolation, humans had learned to take existing designs and push them far beyond their original limitations. They studied alien energy systems and created power storage devices that could hold 100 times more energy than the original's back. On his trapped flagship, General Vex received a communication from Dominion High Command. The message appeared on his main screen showing the Supreme Commander, a massive alien with 6 arms and glowing red eyes, report. General, what is your status? The Supreme Commander demanded, sir. Steady, they have trapped our entire fleet using artificial gravity wells and destroyed over 300 ships using our own weapons against us. Impossible, the Supreme Commander said with anger in his voice. You have 3,000 ships against a primitive species that barely knows how to leave their own planet. Vex looked at his tactical display that showed the human defense satellites, still targeting his ships with perfect accuracy. Sir, I request immediate reinforcements. The humans are not what our intelligence reports indicated. The Supreme Commander was quiet for several long moments. Very well, General. I am sending Battle Group 7 to assist you. 2,000 additional ships should be enough to overwhelm any primitive defenses. Communication ended, and Vex felt a small amount of hope. Battle Group 7 contained some of the most advanced ships in the Dominion fleet, including dreadnoughts that were twice the size of his flagship. Surely, even the mysterious human technology could not stand against 5,000 ships attacking at the same time. But Commander Lee So-min in the Earth Defense Facility had been monitoring all alien communications. The moment Battle Group 7 was mentioned, her staff began preparing for the next phase of their defense plan. The reinforcement fleet will arrive in approximately 4 hours. So-min announced to her control room, activate all ocean defense platforms and prepare the deep space monitoring stations around Earth. The ocean floors suddenly came alive with activity. Massive structures that had been hidden beneath the waves for decades began rising toward the surface. These were not just weapon platforms, they were mobile fortresses, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. Captain Park Soo-jin commanded the Pacific Defense platform as it broke through the ocean surface like a metal island emerging from the depths. Her platform was 5 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide, covered with weapons that used technology no alien species had ever seen. All systems online and ready, Captain Park reported to the main command center. Human ocean fortresses did not use traditional energy weapons, like plasma cannons or laser beams. Instead, they projected coherent gravity waves that could crush enemy ships. By manipulating their own mass, every atom in a targeted ship would suddenly become incredibly heavy, causing the vessel to collapse in on itself. Jin monitored the power levels of all 12 ocean platforms from his engineering station commander. All platforms report ready for combat. The deep space sensors are also detecting the approach of the enemy reinforcement. Fletso Min studied the tactical display that now showed not only the trapped alien fleet, but also the approaching reinforcements. Battle Group 7 was moving fast, trying to catch the human defenses by surprise, but the humans had been tracking their approach since the moment they left their home. Bastier Yoon received a communication request from the main command center and accepted it on her laboratory screen. Commander So-min appeared on the monitor looking calm and confident despite the approaching battle. Doctor, are our new weapon systems ready for testing against a larger fleet? So-min asked. All systems have been tested and retested. Dr. Yoon replied, the gravitational manipulation technology is operating at peak efficiency, and the energy conversion rates are better than our best projections. We are ready for whatever they send against Usta. Of weapons based on principles that most species considered impossible to weaponize, while aliens used brute force approaches to warfare. Humans had learned to use the fundamental forces of the universe as precision instruments. As Battle Group 7 approached Earth, Space General Vex felt confident that reinforcements would turn the tide of battle. He had sent detailed information about human capabilities, and the new fleet would be prepared for their unusual defensive systems. But what Vex did not know was that humanity had been preparing for exactly this scenario. The first alien attack had been anticipated and planned for, but the arrival of reinforcements was also part of human strategic calculations. They had built their defenses, not just to stop one fleet, but to handle multiple waves of attackers, Commander. So, Min activated the planetary communication system and spoke to every human defense facility around the world. All stations, this is Earth defense, command the enemy. Is sending reinforcements, but we knew this would happen. Our preparations are complete and our technology is superior today. We show the galaxy that Earth will never be conquered in space. The first elements of Battle Group 7 dropped out of hyperspace, expecting to find the human planet defenseless and their fellow aliens victorious. Instead, they found the wreckage of 300 ships floating around Earth and the remainder of the original fleet trapped in gravitational fields. What happened? Here demanded Admiral Kex, the commander of Battle Group 7, as he surveyed the destruction. General Vex responded immediately. Increased power, they have trapped my entire fleet, and I cannot break free. Admiral Kex looked at the small blue planet below and saw what appeared to be normal ocean surfaces and simple land masses. There were no visible weapons or defenses yet. Somehow this peaceful-looking world had destroyed hundreds of Dominion warships. Prepare for full assault. Admiral Kex ordered his fleet. We will overwhelm their defenses with sheer numbers. All ships target different areas of the planet simultaneously, but as the reinforcement fleet moved into attack position, the human ocean platforms fully emerged from Earth, seas revealing themselves as massive floating fortresses. Armed with weapons that could manipulate gravity itself, they prepared to demonstrate why humanity had spent 50 years becoming the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Admiral Kex stared at the massive structures rising from Earth oceans and felt his confidence begin to fade. The human ocean platforms were larger than some of the space stations he had seen, and they bristled with weapons that looked nothing like any technology in the Galactic Dominion database. Izul ships maintain attack formation, he ordered while trying to keep his voice steady. We have 2,000 ships against whatever these humans have built. Focus all firepower on those ocean platforms. Battle Group 7 moved into position with their plasma cannons charging up. The alien ships formed a perfect battle line that had been used successfully in hundreds of previous conquests. Admiral Kex had destroyed 12 different species using these exact same tactics and expected the humans to fall just as easily. But Captain Park Soo-jin watched the approaching alien fleet from her Pacific defense platform and smiled. The aliens were using formation, flying, and predictable attack patterns, exactly what the human defense systems had been designed to counter-target. The enemy flagship, she ordered her weapons officer, used gravity wave pulse. At 50% power, the Pacific platform weapons did not fire energy beams or projectiles. Instead, they projected invisible waves of gravitational force that traveled at the speed of light. Admiral Kex's flagship suddenly found itself being crushed by its own mass as every atom in the ship became 10 times heavier than normal. The massive alien dreadnought that had been built to withstand asteroid impacts began to collapse in on itself, like a tin can being squeezed by a giant hand. Within 30 seconds, the flagship imploded completely, leaving only a sphere of compressed metal and alien remains. What just happened? Admiral Kex's second-in-command, Captain Ver, screamed from the bridge of another ship as he watched his superior officer get crushed to death. Before anyone could answer, the other 11 ocean platforms opened fire, each one targeted a different section of the alien fleet using gravity weapons that made ships destroy themselves through their own mass. The alien formation that had looked so impressive moments before began falling apart as dreadnoughts collapsed and destroyers were crushed into metal balls. In the Earth Defense Command Center Park, Jin monitored the battle with excitement. The ocean platforms were performing even better than expected. Each gravity wave weapon could target multiple ships simultaneously, and the aliens had no defense against having their own mass turned against them. Commander, the enemy fleet is taking massive casualties, Jin reported to Lee So-min. Over 200 ships destroyed in the first minute of combat. So-min nodded while watching the tactical display, but she knew the battle was far from over. The aliens still had over 1,500 ships, and they would adapt to the human weapons just like they had learned to avoid the energy absorption satellites. Activate the fighter squadrons, she ordered. Time to show these aliens what human pilots can do. Around Earth hundreds of small human spacecraft that had been hidden in asteroid fields in space. Debris suddenly came to life. These fighters were tiny compared to the massive alien warships, but they moved with speed and agility that no alien pilot had ever seen. Captain Kim Min-ho led Dragon Squadron as they accelerated toward the alien fleet. His fighter was only 50 meters long, but it could change direction instantly and accelerate faster than alien targeting computers could track. The human fighters had been built using alien technology, but redesigned for maximum maneuverability. Dragon leader to all squadrons, Kim announced over the communication system. Remember, these aliens think in straight lines and predictable patterns. Use that against them. The human fighters did not attack in formation like alien spacecraft. Instead, each pilot used individual tactics and creativity to confuse enemy targeting systems. Kim dove toward an alien destroyer while spinning his ship in a pattern that looked random but was actually calculated to avoid every possible firing angle. The alien ship tried to target the small human fighter, but Kim's ship moved like it was alive, dodging massive plasma bursts that would have vaporized a city block. He flew between the alien ship's main guns and fired a concentrated energy beam directly into the engine core. The destroyer exploded from the inside out all around the battle zone. Other human pilots were using similar tactics. Flight leader Park Hyo Jin led her squadron in a coordinated attack that looked like a swarm of angry insects. Each fighter moved independently, but they shared targeting information instantly. Through their connection to the planetary defense network, the aliens had never faced opponents who fought like this. Their military doctrine was based on overwhelming firepower and rigid formations, but the human pilots were using speed, creativity, and individual skill to tear their fleet apart. Captain Kim streaked past 3 alien cruisers while firing rapidly at their weapon systems. He was not trying to destroy the ships, but to disable their ability to fight back. Other human fighters followed behind him, targeting the same ships and finishing what he had started. Sir, the small human craft are destroying our weapons faster than we can target them, reported the tactical officer on General Vex Bridge. The human fighters were not just fast, they were unpredictable, where alien tactics relied on following orders and maintaining formation. Human pilots made split-second decisions that confused enemy targeting computers. They flew in patterns that should have been impossible and struck from angles that alien defensive systems were not designed to handle. Jin watched from his engineering station as the human fighters systematically dismantled the alien point defense systems. Each pilot was connected to the planetary defense network, sharing information instantly and coordinating attacks with superhuman precision. Commander Jin called to So Min, the enemy fleet is losing cohesion. Many ships are trying to retreat, but the gravity wells are still holding them in place. So Min studied the battle display that showed alien ships being destroyed by ocean platforms, gravity weapons, and fighter attacks, while the original trapped fleet remained helpless in the gravitational prison. Keep targeting any ship that continues to fire at us, she ordered, but let the others see what happens when they attack Earth. What General Vex and Admiral Keck's replacement captain, VR, did not understand was that human military doctrine was completely different from alien approaches, where the Dominion focused on conquest and domination. Humans had developed their tactics for defense and protection. Yoon monitored the battle from her laboratory while her team analyzed alien combat patterns in real time. The aliens fight like they are conquering a weaker opponent, she explained to her staff, but we are fighting like we are protecting our home. That gives us advantages they cannot understand them. Human weapons were designed not just to destroy enemy ships, but to demonstrate the futility of attacking Earth. The gravity weapons showed that human technology could turn the basic forces of the universe against their enemies, while the fighters proved that human creativity and skill were superior to alien military doctrine. As the battle continued, Captain Park Soo-jin prepared to activate the final weapon system on her ocean platform. The gravity wave generators had been operating at reduced power, but now it was time to show the aliens what full power could accomplish. Target center of the enemy fleet, she ordered. Set gravity wave generators to maximum power and prepare for wide area effect. The Pacific platform main weapon charged up with energy that distorted space itself around the massive fortress. The weapon did not fire a single beam, but instead projected a field of gravitational chaos that affected dozens of alien ships Simultaneously, every alien vessel caught in the gravity field began to experience different gravitational forces, pulling them in multiple directions at once. Some ships were stretched apart as different sections, experienced different levels of gravitational pull, while others were compressed into impossible shapes. Captain Kim and his fighter squadron pulled back from the alien fleet. As the gravity chaos field expanded, the human pilots had been trained to work with the ocean platforms and knew exactly when to retreat to avoid being caught in their own weapons' effects. In less than 5 minutes, the gravity chaos field had destroyed or disabled over 300 more alien ships. The once mighty Battle Group 7 was now reduced to scattered groups of damaged vessels, trying desperately to escape from weapons they could not understand or fight against. General Vex watched the destruction from his still-trapped flagship and realized that humanity had just demonstrated military technology that was centuries ahead of anything the Dominion possessed. The humans were not just defending their planet, they were teaching the galaxy a lesson about the dangers of underestimating an enemy. Sir, Captain Zor said quietly, I think we need to consider surrender. Vex looked at the tactical display that showed the wreckage of nearly 800 ships floating around Earth. The human planet remained completely undamaged, while his combined fleet of 5,000 ships had been reduced to less than 4,000 in just a few hours. Send a message to the humans, he ordered. It is time to see if they are willing to accept our surrender. Commander Lee So-min received the alien surrender request in the Earth Defense Command Center, but she did not respond immediately. Instead, she looked at the tactical display that showed the scattered remains of the alien fleet and made a decision that would change galactic history forever. Not yet, she said to her communication officer. These aliens came here to enslave humanity, and they need to understand the full extent of their mistake. Activate Protocol 70 around the world. Every human defense facility received the same order. Protocol 7 was the final demonstration of Earth military capability and had never been tested against a real enemy, but the alien invasion provided the perfect opportunity to show the galaxy exactly what humanity had built during 50 years of secret preparation. Park Jin felt his heart racing as he activated systems that had been theoretical until this moment. Commander, all deep space defense platforms are coming online, he reported. The stellar manipulation devices are charging to full power high above Earth in the dark space between planets. Massive structures that had been disguised as asteroids and comets suddenly revealed their true nature. These were humanity's greatest technological achievement, stellar manipulation platforms that could control the fundamental forces that powered stars themselves. General Vex watched in growing horror as objects he had assumed were space debris began glowing with the light of miniature suns. The human deep space platforms were larger than his biggest dreadnoughts, and they radiated energy that made his ship's sensors scream warnings about dangerous radiation levels. What are those things? Captain Zor asked, while staring at the glowing human platforms. Before Vex could answer, the platforms demonstrated their purpose. A beam of concentrated stellar energy struck an alien cruiser, and the ship did not just explode, it was converted into pure energy that lit up the entire battle zone. Like a second sun, the beam was so powerful it created a small artificial star that burned for several minutes before fading away. Dar Yoon watched the stellar manipulation test from her laboratory with mixed emotions. The weapon had worked perfectly, but the level of destruction was almost beyond comprehension. The alien ship had been completely converted to energy, with not even atoms remaining. That was just a demonstration at 1% power, she told her assistant Park Dong-soo. At full power, those platforms could destroy entire fleets, or even small moons. The human stellar manipulation technology was based on the same principles that powered stars, but focused into weapons that could reorganize matter at the atomic level. The aliens had developed plasma weapons that used heat and energy to destroy targets, but humans had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces that held atoms together. Captain Park Soo-jin watched from her ocean platform as the deep space weapons demonstrated. Their power, the stellar beams, could reach across the entire solar system and strike targets with perfect accuracy while carrying enough energy to vaporize anything they touched. All ocean platforms prepare for final demonstration, she ordered. To the other platform commanders, show them what happens when we use their own technology against entire fleets. 12 ocean platforms had been using gravity weapons at reduced power to avoid destroying the entire alien fleet at once, but now they activated their main weapon systems that could project gravitational forces across thousands of kilometers simultaneously. Admiral Keck's replacement captain, Ver, felt his ship beginning to shake as gravitational waves passed through the hull. Every piece of metal and equipment on board began vibrating with forces that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Sir, the humans are doing something to space itself," his science officer reported. "All of our ships are detecting massive gravitational anomalies." What Captain Ver did not understand was that the human ocean platforms were demonstrating their ability to manipulate gravity on a scale that could affect entire star systems. The platforms were creating artificial gravitational fields that could move planets or redirect asteroid belts. The gravitational demonstration lasted only 30 seconds, but it was enough to show every alien in the fleet that humanity possessed technology that could rearrange solar systems. Captain Ver watched his tactical display as the gravitational fields moved his ships around like toys, despite their engines running at full power. In the Earth Defense Facility, Commander So-Min received reports from every human installation around the planet. And in deep space, all weapon systems were operating at maximum efficiency, and the alien fleet was completely helpless against technology. They could not understand or counter. Jin prepare the final message she ordered to her communication officer. "Tell every alien ship in our solar system exactly what they are facing." The message went out on all frequencies in every language the aliens used. Commander Lee So-Min's voice was calm and steady as she spoke to the invading fleet. "Attention, alien vessels. This is Earth Defense Command. You came to our world expecting to find a primitive species that would surrender without a fight. Instead, you have discovered that humanity has been preparing for your arrival for 50 years, the message continued. As So-Min explained the true scope of human defensive capabilities, every weapon you have seen today operates at a small fraction of its maximum power. Our stellar manipulation platforms can destroy entire fleets with a single shot. Our gravitational weapons can move planets, and our energy absorption systems can capture and redirect the power of stars themselves." General Vex listened to the human message with growing despair. The species he had thought was primitive possessed technology that could challenge the entire galactic dominion. The humans had not just defeated his fleet, they had demonstrated that Earth was protected by weapons that could threaten any force in the galaxy. Captain Kim and his fighter squadron had returned to their hidden bases, but they remained ready to launch again at a moment's notice from his cockpit. Kim could see the alien fleet trapped in human gravity wells while deep space platforms continued to charge their stellar weapons. The human fighters had been the least advanced weapon system used in the battle, but even they had demonstrated superiority over alien military technology. Human pilots, using creativity and individual skill, had outfought alien crews that relied on rigid formations and predictable tactics. Dr. Yoon received a priority communication from the main command center. Commander So-Min appeared on her screen with a serious expression. "Doctor, the aliens are requesting terms for complete surrender. Should we accept?" Dr. Yoon looked around her laboratory at the alien technology that had been captured and improved over 5 decades. The irony was not lost on her that the invaders were now at the mercy of their own technology. "Turned against them, accept their surrender," she replied, "but make sure they understand that Earth is now off limits to any alien species. The galaxy needs to know that attacking humanity will result in the complete destruction of any invasion force." The human demonstration of overwhelming technological superiority had lasted less than 6 hours, but it had fundamentally changed the balance of power in the galaxy. The Galactic Dominion had sent 5,000 ships to conquer what they thought was a primitive world, but instead had discovered that humanity possessed the most advanced military technology in known space. Commander So-Min prepared to accept the alien surrender, but she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was full of species that might threaten Earth. Humanity needed to be ready for whatever came next. The 50 years of secret preparation had given them the tools to defend their world, but the real test would be maintaining that defense against future threats in space. The remains of the alien fleet waited helplessly for human mercy, while around them floated the wreckage of nearly 1,000 destroyed ships. The blue planet below remained as peaceful and beautiful as ever, showing no sign of the incredible defensive systems that protected General Vex prepared to formally surrender his fleet to a species he had thought was beneath his notice. Just hours before, he had been confident of easy victory, but now he understood that humanity had just announced itself as the most dangerous military force in the galaxy. The age of human isolation was over, and the galaxy would never be the same. General Vex sat in his damaged command center, surrounded by the wreckage of what had once been the most powerful invasion fleet in galactic Dominion history. His purple skin had turned pale with shock, and his 4 eyes stared blankly at the tactical display that showed the complete destruction of his military force captain. Zor worked frantically at the communication console, trying to establish a stable link with Dominion High Command. The human weapons had damaged many of their long-range systems, but finally a connection came through the massive form of the Supreme Commander appeared on the main screen, his 6 arms crossed and his red eyes glowing with anger. Report, General, the Supreme Commander demanded, his voice echoing through the bridge. What is your current status? Vex looked around his bridge at the alien officers who had served under him for decades. All of them had the same expression of complete shock and disbelief. They had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, but instead had witnessed the birth of a new galactic superpower. Sir, Vex began, his voice barely above a whisper. The humans are not what we thought they were. Explain immediately, the Supreme Commander ordered. I sent you 5,000 ships to conquer a single primitive planet. General Vex stood up slowly and walked to the front window of his ship, where he could see the blue planet that had just redefined galactic warfare. Outside his window floated the wreckage of nearly 1,000 alien ships. While Earth remained completely undamaged, sir, they have been preparing for us for 50 years. Every scout ship we lost, every probe that went missing, they captured all of it. They studied our technology and made it better, much better. The Supreme Commander leaned forward in his throne, looking skeptical. That is impossible, General. A species that discovered space travel less than 100 years ago cannot possess technology superior to ours. Vex felt his heart beating faster as he remembered the battle that had just ended. Sir, I watched them absorb our most powerful weapons and fire them back with 10 times more energy. I saw them create artificial gravity wells that trapped our entire fleet. I witnessed them destroy ships by turning our own mass against us. The silence from High Command stretched on for several long minutes. Vex could see other Dominion leaders gathering around the Supreme Commander, throne, all of them listening to his report with growing concerns. Supreme Commander Vex continued, they have weapons that can manipulate stars. They have fighters that move faster than our targeting computers can track. They have defensive systems that make our most advanced technology look like primitive tools. Tell me about our losses, the Supreme Commander said quietly. Vex looked at his damage reports that showed the true scope of the disaster. Over 900 ships destroyed, over 2,000 damaged, and the remaining vessels trapped in human gravitational fields. Sir, we lost nearly 20% of our total fleet strength in less than 6 hours. The Supreme Commander's face showed the first signs of real concern. How many humans did we kill? None, sir, Vex replied. They did not lose a single ship or defensive platform. Their planet shows no damage at all. They defeated the largest invasion force in Dominion history without taking any casualties. Commander Lee. So Min's voice suddenly filled the alien command center, broadcasting on all frequencies. General Vex, this is Earth Defense Command. We are prepared to discuss terms for your surrender. Vex looked at the communication panel and then back at the Supreme Commander. Sir, the humans are offering to negotiate our surrender. You will accept no terms from primitives. The Supreme Commander declared with respect. Sir, Vex replied, these are not primitives. The humans have just demonstrated that they possess the most advanced military technology in the known galaxy. We can either surrender and leave peacefully, or we can be destroyed like the rest of our fleet. The Supreme Commander was quiet for several minutes while he consulted with other Dominion leaders. Finally, he spoke again. What are their terms? Vex activated his communication system. Commander, so Min. This is General Vex of the Galactic Dominion. What terms do you offer for our surrender? The human commander's voice was calm and professional as she responded. Simple, General. Leave our solar system immediately and never return. Tell your people that Earth is not to be disturbed. In exchange, we will allow your surviving ships to depart with their crews. The Supreme Commander listened to the human offer with obvious anger. You expect the Galactic Dominion to retreat from a single planet, Sir Vex said while looking at the wreckage of his fleet. I recommend we accept their terms. The humans have weapons that can destroy our entire civilization if they choose to use them, Daryun. Heijin monitored the negotiations from her underground laboratory. While her team analyzed the final battle data, the human victory had been even more complete than anyone had hoped. The aliens had been defeated so thoroughly that they were now begging for permission to leave Park Dong-su. Her assistant looked at the energy readings from the stellar manipulation platforms. Doctor, if we had used those weapons at full power, we could have destroyed their entire fleet in minutes. Daryun look like conquerors instead of defenders. We needed to show the galaxy that we can protect ourselves without becoming the very thing we were fighting against. The human approach to victory was as unique as their approach to technology development, where most species would have used overwhelming force to destroy every enemy. Humans had demonstrated their superiority while offering mercy to the defeated general. Vex made his decision and activated his fleet. Communication system, all ships. This is General Vex. We are accepting the human terms for surrender. All vessels will prepare to leave Earth space immediately. Captain Zor looked confused. Sir, are we really surrendering to a species we came here to conquer? Vex looked at his tactical display one more time, showing the peaceful blue planet surrounded by the wreckage of Dominion ships. Captain, we did not come here to conquer anyone. We came here and discovered that we had attacked the most dangerous species in the galaxy as the surviving alien ships prepared to leave Earth space. Vex recorded his final report to Dominion High Command. The message would change how every species in the galaxy viewed humanity. Personal log. General Vex, he began today. I learned that the most dangerous phrase in the galaxy might be, they are only human. We came to Earth expecting to find a primitive world that would surrender without a fight. Instead, we discovered that humanity has been watching the galaxy, learning from every species they encountered and preparing to defend themselves with technology that makes our greatest weapons look like ancient tools. He paused and looked out at Earth one final time. The humans did not just defeat us, they taught us that we have been thinking about warfare in completely wrong ways. While we focused on building bigger weapons and stronger ships, they focused on understanding the fundamental forces of the universe and turning those forces into defensive systems. Vex continued his report. As his damaged fleet began the long journey back to Dominion, space recommendation to High Command. Immediately reclassify humanity from primitive species to extreme threat level. Earth is to be avoided at all costs. The humans have demonstrated that they can destroy any invasion force sent against them while taking no casualties themselves. The transmission ended, and General Vex looked around his bridge at the alien officers who had served under him. They had left Dominion space as conquerors, but they were returning as the survivors of the greatest military defeat in galactic history. Captain Zor broke the silence. Sir, what do we tell the other species in the Dominion about what happened? Here Vex thought about the question while watching Earth disappear behind them. We tell them the truth, he said finally. We tell them that we found a species that has been preparing for galactic contact for 50 years. We tell them that the humans have technology that can challenge our entire civilization. And we tell them that Earth is now the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. As the alien fleet limped away from Earth, the human defense systems returned to their hidden state. The orbital satellites resumed their disguise as communication equipment. The ocean platforms sank back beneath. The waves and the deep space weapons powered down and returned to looking like asteroids. Commander So Min addressed the entire Earth defense network from her command center. Today, we proved that 50 years of preparation was worth the effort. The galaxy now knows that Earth cannot be conquered and that humanity will defend itself with whatever force is necessary. Park Jin monitored the departing alien fleet from his engineering station. Commander, all enemy ships have left our solar system. They are broadcasting warnings to other alien species to avoid Earth. So Min smiled as she watched the tactical display return to normal. The age of human isolation was over, but it had ended on humanity terms. The galaxy would have to learn to deal with Earth as an equal, not as a target for conquest. Daryun received the final battle analysis data and realized that the human victory had been even more significant than a simple military defeat. The aliens had learned that attacking Earth would result in facing technology they could not understand or counter. This knowledge would spread throughout the galaxy and protect humanity for generations to come. The invasion of Earth had lasted less than one day, but its effects would reshape galactic politics forever. Humanity had announced itself as a species that would not be conquered, enslaved, or destroyed. The galaxy had a new apex predator, and